All right, shalom, shalom. First and foremost, I want to give our praise and glory due to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shah, Bahashem, Kakwadash. I want to give double honor to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone who rule well. Peace and salutations to the whole elect scattered abroad, doing this work in truth and sincerity. Shalom. And this is a quick lesson through the Spirit. Well, this is edifying. It's really just going into, we being a body, and all members of the body have to meet, that measurement of fulfillment that they have to meet, man. Ultimately, man. So ultimately this is going to how everyone has a measure that they have to fulfill, man, or that they have to meet. Everyone has a required measure that the Lord has given them to meet, to fulfill, through the Spirit and power of Yahweh Shem Shah. Because you have we being one body, but many members, man, that make up the body, and everyone has to, fulfill their measure, their measurement that they have to meet, so that the body, goes accordingly, man. That way the body isn't lacking anything. That way the body is, together as one, in one joint, man. Moving accordingly, as it should be, So therefore, through the Spirit, you're not going to be able to go below your measure, because that means you're not living up to your measure that you have to meet. You're not going to be able to go over it, man. The Lord's not going to allow you to go over what you was set to be, the measurement that He had set out for you, man. In a way, if that makes sense, man. But oh Lord, what this is edifying. And there's a few precepts I want to touch on. And now that I'm thinking about it, it's a righteous balance with the measurement that everyone has to meet, man. Because not only on the right hand side do the elect, do the body, that remnant of the Lord, they have that measurement that they have to fulfill, that they have to meet before the Lord, comes down here and redeem them, and that they receive that salvation. But also the wicked, the world, the 2/3. And again, the unrighteous, the wicked of the world, they have that measurement of wickedness and iniquity that they have to fulfill, that they have to meet also before the Lord brings that, that judgment upon them, man. Because like the scriptures tell you, roughly paraphrasing in Revelation, about how their wickedness, has reached the heavens, man. So it's a balance, man. The wicked also got a measurement that they got to fulfill of wickedness and unrighteousness and iniquity. But on the right hand side, you have the righteous, and the men of the Lord. They have a measurement of righteousness, and complying to the will of Yahweh Shem Shah that they have to meet, before they receive that salvation, man. But again, Lord, what is edifying? Again, just a few scriptures. Try not to make it too long. This is something I was meditating on through the Spirit, man. Lord willing, this is edifying to the body. And we'll kick it off in John 4, because I want to touch on this, about us entering into man's labors, man. Because that's all it is. The Lord, we're the same spirits being replenished back into the earth. And we have to, again, enter into other man's labors. We have that measurement that we have to fulfill. We got shoes to fill, man. Ultimately, man, through the Spirit, we have, we got shoes to fill, man. We got big shoes to fill, being that we enter into other man's labors. But this is John 4:37, and it reads, and herein it is that saying true. One soweth and another reapeth. I sent you to reap. Thereon you bestowed no labor. Other man labor, and ye enter into that labors, man. So the Lord, He sent us into other man's labors, We enter into their labors. Ultimately, which are our forefathers, man. Because we are our forefathers through the Spirit. So again, we have to fill those shoes. We have to, like the scriptures told us, I want to say it is in Matthew, Yahweh Shah was, was going in, telling them, we got to exceed the, let's see if I can pull it up, that way I don't butcher it. We have to exceed the Pharisees, man. Exceed the righteousness of the Pharisees, man. Hey, brothers know what I'm talking about. 1 second, so like you. Got to pull this up. Lord, when I can get it. What is this? This is Matthew. Let's go to that. Matthew 5:20. And we'll start there. Getting to the point, we'll just read that. Matthew 5:20. For I say unto you that except your righteousness shall exceed the righteousness of the scribes and Pharisees, ye in no case shall enter into the kingdom of heaven, man. So again, we enter into our forefathers' labors, from past time, like the Lord is telling us here. Like how shall I telling us, man? Hey, our righteousness has to exceed the righteousness of the scribes and Pharisees, man. Because what was one thing about the scribes and Pharisees? What? They knew the law, they knew the scriptures. You know, they would tell you everything to do, but they works, they actions show otherwise, man. That's why the Lord told us, hey, what as the Pharisees, you know, they say and tell you, they do. But as they do, you don't do, man. Roughly paraphrasing, man. You know, but that just being the point that we have to, again, enter into other man's levels. We have a measurement that we have to exceed, that we have to fulfill, man. You know, that the Lord has given to us to fulfill through the Spirit, you know. And again, you're not going to be able to go below that or under that, man. You're just going to have to fulfill that measurement, man. It's the same thing, you know, with prophecy in a sense, because the Lord, like he told us in Esdras, he's not going to move nor stir the times until that said measure be fulfilled, roughly paraphrase. So the Lord, you know, he's about balance. He's about order, man. He does everything in decency and order. You know, so the Lord, he doesn't move nor stir or cause anything to happen before it's meant to happen. He wait till this measurement is fulfilled, and then boom, the next prophecy pop off. And once that measure is fulfilled, boom, the next prophecy pops off. Same thing with us. We all have to meet our full measurement, man. You know, before the Lord can actually, you know, again, give us that salvation, redeem us, you know, before some brothers can be built up through the Spirit, you know, or become, you know, to be able to prophesy on the highways and byways, or to be able to break down, you know, certain scriptures or different breakdowns, man, breaking down Revelations, breaking down Daniels, breaking down mysteries, you know, things of that nature. We all have to meet that measurement first, man, you know. But let's get this Romans 12, and let's pick up at verse 3, and we'll read down to 5. So this is Romans 12 and 3, kind. And it reads, "For I say through the grace given unto me, to every man that is among you, not to think of himself more highly than he ought to think, but to think soberly, according as the Most High have dealt to every man the measure of faith." So the Lord telling you, man, to every man, that you can't think more highly than you ought to think. Don't think of yourself higher than what you think you are in this truth, you know, through the Spirit. But he said, think soberly, according as the Most High have dealt to every man the measure of faith, you know. So whatever faith the Lord has given you, you deal with that, you take it and you deal with it, you know. You don't think of yourself more or lesser than that, you know. It says, for as we have many members in one body, and all members have not the same office. So again, we have many members in one body. It's one body, but many members. It says, but what? All members have not the same office. So you have different members that have different offices, man. And in these offices, everybody has that measurement that they have to fulfill. It says, so we being many are one body in Hamashiach, and every one member one of another, you know. So each member is balancing, is basically depending on one another, man. You know. So if this brother don't meet his measurement, it's gonna cause this, you know, this member to go off. You know, so everyone has that measurement that they have to fulfill, man, being that we're one body, joining together with many members, you know. Because that goes into the diversity of gifts, man. Because in his ministry, the Lord has given out different diversities of gifts, you know, different attributes to the body that, again, that everybody has to fulfill so that the body runs smoothly, man. You know. Let's get this, though, because I said that. 1 Corinthians 12 and 4, and we read down to 6. So this says, verse 4, now there are diversity of gifts, but the same Spirit. So, you know, again, the Lord give out that diversity of gifts, but it's all through the same Spirit of Yahweh Shemi Yahushua. It says, and there are differences of administrations, but the same Lord. And there are diversities of operations, but it's the same power which work of all in all, man. You know? So it's the Lord, you know, causing all this to, to go through and happen, man. You know? Even though you have different gifts, it's all through the same Spirit. It's all orchestrated through Yahweh Shemi Yahushua, ultimately, man. You know? Now let's get let's go to 2 Corinthians, actually. Excuse me. 2 Corinthians, and I want to pick up at 10 and Salakia. Let's see some things. We'll pick up at 12. Get some context. We'll read the 14. God. So it's 2 Corinthians 10 and verse 12, and it reads, "For we dare not make ourselves of that number, or compare ourselves with some that commend themselves, but they measuring themselves by themselves and comparing themselves amongst themselves are not wise. But we will not boast of the things without our measure, but according to the measure of the rule which the Most High have distributed to us, a measure to reach even unto you." So like it's going to, man, we can't make ourselves of that number, which is of the elect, of the remnant, by comparing ourselves, with some that commend themselves. We can't be comparing ourselves to the elders and apostles. We can't be comparing ourselves to other brothers. Or like I said, comparing ourselves and measuring themselves amongst themselves. You can't say, well, I do this and I do this and I do that. Trying to lift yourself up, trying to make yourself of that measurement. Man, you trying to make yourself, more than what you are. Like it was going to in Romans 12:13. You can't think highly of yourself than what you are, man. You gotta deal with what the Lord, according to what the Lord is giving you, and the level that He's dealing with you on, man. That's why it says in verse 13, "But we will not boast of the things without our measure, but according to the measure of the rule which the Most High have distributed to us." So we can't boast of these things, but we only could deal with according to the measure of that rule which the Most High had given to us, man. It says a measure to reach even unto you. So it's a measure that we have to reach, Again, verse 14, continuing on, "For we stretch not ourselves beyond our measure, as though we reach not unto you, for we are come as far as to you also in preaching the gospel for Mashiach." So again, we can't stretch ourselves beyond our measure that the Lord has dealt. So you're not going to be able to go above your measure or below it, So like but like I was saying, like it was going to, we can't stretch ourselves beyond that measure, man. We have to deal with what the Lord had distributed unto us, that measurement that He's given to us to meet, man. And that's what we have to deal on. We think of ourselves, of something that we're not. And ultimately, the Lord, He's not gonna let you, which we'll get to. I want to grab this real fast. But the Lord is not gonna allow you to go over your measure or under, man. The Lord's gonna cause something to happen, man. But this is Galatians 6, and we'll pick up at 3. It says, "For if a man think himself to be something when he is nothing, he deceiveth himself. But let every man prove his own work, and then shall he have rejoicing in himself alone and not in another. For every man shall bear his own burden," man. So again, like I tell you, hey, don't think of yourself as something when you're nothing, because you're gonna deceive yourself, man. Don't think you, how they say in the world, don't think you bigger than the program, man. This is the Lord's program. This is the program of Yahweh by Shah. So like, we can't think of ourselves, we can't boost ourselves up or put ourselves on this pedestal or think we're bigger than that measure that the Lord has us to fulfill, man. It says, "But let every man prove his own work, and then shall he have rejoicing in himself alone and not in another. For every man shall bear his own burden." Because ultimately we're going to bear our own burden. And the truth, we all have our own lot that we have to deal, man. But let's get this, because, like I was saying, with that 2 Corinthians the Lord is not going to allow you to go above that measure, man. The Lord will cause something to happen, man. So this is 2 Corinthians 2 and 11. No, that's not what I want, So like what is that I want? So like 1 second. It may be 2 Corinthians 12. So like about that. Let's go to chapter 12 and 7. 12. Think of me, bro. That was you said me right here. Let's get we'll start at 6. Alright. So we'll start at 6 and get 7. So it's 2 Corinthians 12 and 6. "For though I would desire to glory, I shall not be a fool." And this is Paul speaking, man. He says, "For though I would desire to glory, I shall not be a fool. For I would say the truth, but now I forbear, lest any man shall think of me above that which he seeth me to be, or that he heareth me, unless I shall be exalted above measure through the abundance of the revelations. There was given to me a thorn in the flesh, the messenger of Satan to buffet me, lest I should be exalted above measure, man. So even Paul was saying, even though he would desire the glory, he shall not be a fool, because we all desire the glory, but we can't again boast ourselves above that measure that the Lord has put us on to meet, because we're just man. We're just man in fleshly bodies, and of course we are spirits, but we're these fleshly bodies. We're just servants, of how about you shot ultimately, man. That's why he goes on to say in verse 7, unless I should be exalted above measure through the abundance of revelations, there was given to me a thorn in the flesh, So if we are to get exalted above that measure, the Lord is going to cause a thorn to be in the flesh. The messenger of Satan, the Lord's going to send Satan to buffet you. It says, Satan to buffet me, lest I should be exalted above measure. So the Lord's going to send Satan to buffet you, to lower you back down, to bring you back down above that, so you don't go above that measure. And like Paul said, unless you should be exalted above that measure, unless the Lord allows that to happen, unless that's the will and power of Yahweh Bashim Shai, He's not going to allow it to happen. He's going to send Satan to buffet you through the spirit, man. Again, that thorn in the flesh, because we all have that measurement that we have to fulfill, and you're not going to be able to go over that or under it. You have to feel it perfectly, man, according to the will and power of Yahweh Bashim Shai, But let's go to this Ephesians 4. And I kind of want to pick off on this a little bit. And let's see. I want to read verse 8. And we'll jump around a little bit. This is Ephesians 4 and 8. And it reads, wherefore himself, when he ascended up on high, he led captivity. He led captivity captive and gave gifts unto man. And the point being there is the Lord, like I said, he gave gifts unto man. He gave gifts unto certain man. And we'll skip down to verse 11 and read the 13 as it reads 11. And he gave some apostles and some prophets and some evangelists and some pastors and teachers for the perfecting of the saints, for the work of the ministry, for the edifying of the body of Hamashiach, till we all come in the unity of the flesh and the knowledge of the Son of the Most High, unto the perfect man, unto the measure of the stature of the fullness of Hamashiach, man. Because he gave the some apostles, some prophets, some evangelists, and some pastors and teachers. Everyone has a different lot, man. A different measure that they have to fulfill. But it's all, again, like I said, for the perfecting of the saints, man. This is all to the unity of the saints, man. Ultimately, so that the elect can ultimately, as one body, but many members, fulfill that measure that the Lord, has set for them to meet, so they can receive that salvation, man. It says, for the perfecting of the saints, for the work of the ministry, for the edifying of the body of Hamashiach, till we all have to come in the unity of the faith and of the knowledge of the Son of Yahweh Bashim Yahushua, unto a perfect man. So we all have to come into that measure, unto that perfect man. It says, unto the measure of the stature of the fullness of Hamashiach. So until we come into that measure of the stature of the fullness of Hamashiach, and we're not going to, receive that salvation, that redemption. But that's what the Lord is waiting on. Because, again, we all have that measure we have to fulfill. That's the whole point of this, man. And, kind of, let's go on and read down just a little bit more on this. Kind of just 15 to 16. So this is skipping down to 15. It says, but speaking the truth in love may grow up into him all things which he is the head, even Hamashiach, from whom the whole body fitly joined together and compacted by that which every joint supplieth, according to the effectual working in the measure of every part, make of increase of the body unto the edifying of itself in love, man. So that being the point, because once everybody comes into that fullness of the measure, you're going to have the whole body fitly joined together, man. Like I said, compacted by that which every joint supplieth. So every joint, every body part, every member, it's going to come together perfect. Every joint is going to supply to each other what it needs. It says, according to the effectual work in the measure of every part, make of increase of the body unto the edifying of itself in love. So it's going to make increase in the body unto itself, It says, unto the edifying of itself in love, So until we all meet that measure, like the scripture has been telling you, and we're going to be here, man. Until we all meet that measure, once we do, the Lord is going to come down and redeem the elect, man. Redeem that remnant, Because, again, it's one body, and many members until we all reach that measurement, so that we become fitly joined together through the spirit and power of Yahweh Shai Yahushua. That's when the Lord's going to come and redeem us, man. But that being pretty much the point, man. I'm wrapping up with that. Again, Lord willing, this is edifying. Again, through the spirit and power of Yahweh Shai Yahushua. But with that, I'm going to close out, giving all glory and praises to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, and Kakodash. Double honor to the elders and apostles, the great millstone, Haruba, and to the truth. And with that, I'm saying shalom to the elect. Till next time, shalom.